Ah, there you are. Come, sit with me a while, would you? The stones are cool, but the fire's plenty warm. I've set a place for you just beside the flame, where the light flickers gently on the old stone wall. You see how the moss glows in that golden hue, like velvet stitched in by time itself. It's a quiet night, my dear companion, the sort of night that doesn't ask for answers, only presence, only breath. The river's just there behind you. Can you hear it? Soft and steady. It's not a boastful stream tonight, just murmuring to itself as it passes by the old keep. It's been doing so for longer than I've worn this armor, longer than I've walked these lands. I rather think it knows more than I ever shall, and speaks far less. You may lean against the stone if you'd like. It's cold at first, but you get used to it. The stone remembers a great many backs and shoulders, travelers, wanderers, fools like me, who thought the world could be chased into shape. But not tonight. No chasing. No shaping. Just sitting. Just listening. The wolf stirred when you arrived. Did you see? Lifted his head just enough to know you a friend, then set it back down on his paws like he never left the dream at all. He's older than he looks, though he hides it well, a loyal beast, through and through. Sometimes I think he dreams for the both of us. That's why I let him sleep first. Now then, tea or silence? You may have both, if you like. I brewed it gently while the moon climbed above the treetops, steeped with mint and a sprig of dried clover. The steam still curls up like a spirit rising, fragrant and soft. If you close your eyes, you might think you're in a meadow at midsummer. Tonight the stars are slow to speak. They blink above, but shyly so, as if waiting to see if we're worthy of their secrets. That's fair. I don't need secrets tonight, not really, not even answers. Just this, just fire and stillness, and your kind presence beside me. I often come to this place when I need to remember, but not too much. Memory can be sharp if you let it run wild, like a blade left in frost too long. So I only remember the round edges, soft laughter, gentle days, footsteps in warm soil, the things that don't ask questions when they return to you. The stones here behind us, they're old ruins now, though once this was a place of purpose, some keep or outpost. I never asked its name. I like that it no longer boasts of its history, that it's surrendered to ivy and moss, and lets the wind pass through its bones with no resistance. There's something to learn in that, I think. Sometimes I wonder if the wall behind us listens, if it hears these words and holds them like a lullaby between the cracks. It's comforting, isn't it? To speak to something that expects nothing in return, like you do in your kindness. Even the fire tonight burns low and well. You can watch how it breathes, rising just a little, then sinking back to rest. It's steady, like the wolf's chest, or the hush of leaves above. Even the coals are quiet, and in their glow your face softens, peaceful and warm. Do you feel that? The way the night settles into your shoulders, slow and forgiving. There is no hurry here. No need to hold yourself upright or speak if you'd rather not. You may listen. You may drift. You may simply be. You've come far, haven't you? In more ways than one. I see it in the quiet of your eyes, and I honor that, my heart. The path is long for us all, but tonight you are not walking it. Tonight you are here, safe, still, held by firelight and stone. So let us be still together. We do not need to speak much more just yet. The world outside this circle of warmth can wait. The stars will take their time, and so shall we. Let the river tell its tale. Let the flames dance in their hush. Let the wolf dream on. And if sleep begins to find you early, well, that is no mistake. I will keep watch a while longer, and the fire will keep you warm. Rest easy now. My dearest companion, the night is full of gentleness. Listen, my friend. Just be still a moment. You hear it? That gentle hush against the stones, like the world exhaling soft and steady. That's the river. It brushes along the edge of the old path here, always moving, yet never rushing, like a kindly hand passing over a child's brow, again and again, without need or reason. It's been flowing like this for as long as I've known the keep, and likely for long before it had even a name. We're nestled in a hollow of peace tonight, you and I. This old ruin, this broken crown of stone, veined with moss and shadow, it has long since forgotten what it was meant to defend, and so it defends nothing now, except perhaps our rest, a shelter of silence. I rather think the wind avoids it out of respect. Look at how the firelight dances across these walls. You see the way it licks along the old mortar lines. Every stone has its own little warmth, its own shape of flickering glow, and there, just under that crack, see how the moss thickens. It's the softest kind, almost like velvet. Damp, yes, but fragrant. Green like the memory of summer. There are herbs growing between the cracks as well. Stubborn things, wild thyme, I believe, and something else, a creeping sort with tiny silver leaves. I've never known the name. I only know that when you press them with your fingers, they smell of wind and old wood smoke, the kind of scent that lingers in a wool cloak for days after you've left a fire behind. The wolf knows this place well. He's already asleep again, just there, his breath rising slow and calm, clouding faintly in the cool air. Every now and again his ears twitch, listening to sounds far subtler than mine can catch. A moth's wings, perhaps, or the sigh of ivy shifting beneath its own weight. And the fire, this fire. It's burning low and quiet now, pinewood mostly. I gathered it earlier from a grove just beyond the edge of the ruin, where the needles fall thick and the ground is always a little springy underfoot. Pine burns with a soft crackle, have you noticed? Not like oak or ash. It speaks, whispers really, little sighs and snaps that settle deep into your bones, like lullabies made of wood. The smoke curls straight up tonight, barely stirred. That's how you know the air is still. There's no mischief in the wind, no stirring beyond what the trees allow. Even the leaves have chosen not to chatter, just that occasional flutter, like a curtain in a sleeping chamber, moving with a breath you cannot place. And over us the moon hangs full, round and pale, casting a milk-white sheen on the stones and the grass alike. You can see how it turns everything soft, almost blurred at the edges. My gauntlet, for example. Here, see the dew beading on the knuckles, tiny drops, each catching the firelight and moonlight both, little stars resting on steel. To further down the slope the river opens wide. I can hear it more clearly when I close my eyes. There's a part of it that runs over pebbles, and another part that laps gently against fallen logs. Two voices, braided into one. The water doesn't argue with itself, it simply is. Perhaps that's why I find it so comforting. Now and again, a night bird sings out, just once, sharp and sudden, like a bell struck gently with a fingertip, and then silence again, as though the sound itself were enough to complete a thought. No need for more. And a while ago, a good while, I heard a bell toll, not from anywhere close, far off past the river, maybe even over the low hills beyond. I don't know the village it came from. Perhaps there is no village left. Sometimes bells toll for no one, or perhaps they toll for those like us, who are awake when they shouldn't be, who carry quiet things in our hearts and sit beside forgotten walls. Bells remember better than men do, I think. Let me describe this stillness to you, the one we're wrapped in. It isn't silence. No, it's deeper than that. It's the presence of quiet, the kind that hums behind your ears and fills up the spaces between your ribs. You feel it in your throat, like you're holding a breath without knowing it. Not from fear, never fear, but from reverence, as though speaking too loud might startle something sacred away. The ground beneath us is a mix of packed soil and smooth stones, cold but not cruel, the kind of cold that lets you know the season has turned its face towards slumber, autumn perhaps, though the air holds the sweetness of late harvest rather than frost. If you press your hand to the earth, you'll feel the memory of sun from earlier, faint but lingering. Sometimes I think this place was meant for this exact hour. You see how the shadows pool in the corners of the ruin? They aren't empty. They're simply content. Shadows that belong, that know they aren't watched. Even the smallest places hold peace if you let them. The roots under the floor stones, the cracks where ants once traveled, the hollow of a broken step, now home to leaves and time. Soul setting here beside me. You belong here too, more than you know. Your presence changes nothing, and yet, somehow, it completes everything. You've brought no weight with you, only warmth. Your breath joins the rhythm of the place, slow and even, like the rise of mist from the riverbank at first light. This then. This is our world tonight, a world of stone and flame, of water and moss, of sleeping beasts and quiet bells, a world where nothing asks and nothing demands, where even memory is gentle, and the stars speak only when spoken to. Let's stay here a while longer. No reason to rise, no place to be. The fire still burns, the wolf still dreams, and the river still tells its story to those who know how to listen. We needn't speak again until you wish to. The night is full of peace, and it welcomes you. To one so, Dolkaze. You're still with me. That's a comfort more than I can rightly say. There's something rare in being seen without having to explain, just sharing the warmth of a fire, letting the quiet do the speaking. But since you've stayed, since you've offered me this stillness beside you, I suppose I'll speak a little more plainly. Imagine to many, I must still look like a knight in the old stories, steel on my shoulders, a crest on the shield, a beast at my side. It's an image carved deep into memory, isn't it? But those stories are not the whole of us. They never are. The truth, my friend, is that I've been called many names over the years, some sung in halls, some whispered in shadow, and most forgotten by all but the stones. Banners have hung above me, behind me, even fallen beneath me. Yet none of them truly belonged. Names are lighter than they seem, you know. They drift, they fade. Only a few stay, and those are rarely the ones we choose. These days, I carry no banner. I answer to no horn. I bear no sword at my side. Only the quiet weight of years and a companion who asks for nothing but shared breath. See this armor? It's old. You can tell by the way it no longer shines like it once did. And yet I polish it still, not for battle, but for love. There's something sacred in tending to what once carried you. Each buckle, each joint, each edge, holds memory. The dents remain, of course. I no longer buff those out. Let them be. They're proof I've moved through time and never once turned to rust. And yet, I do not wear this to frighten or to fight. I wear it because it fits like skin now. Familiar, not heavy. The weight of habit, of story, of hours spent watching sunrises from hilltops and listening to rain inside a tent, stitched by calloused fingers. This armor has heard more of my silence than any squire ever did. As for the sword, no, I do not carry it anymore. Not tonight. I keep it close, yes, laid across the stones by the fire if you look, but I do not hold it. My hands are not made for grasping just now. They're meant for tending coals, for offering warmth, for letting go. You see the wolf curled beside us? His name is older than I can pronounce, so I simply call him brother. He has followed me through forests and fog, through quiet courts and empty roads, and now he rests, just as I do. He's known joy, he's known pain. His paws have crossed frozen rivers, and his eyes have seen the kind of sky that only opens once or twice in a lifetime. We've seen enough, he and I. Not too much, just enough. Some nights I watch him breathe, the way his ribs rise and fall, steady as tide water. That rhythm has guided me home more times than I can count. He snores sometimes soft and low, like distant thunder over a wide plain. Tonight he's still, dreaming perhaps of running through fields that no longer bloom, or chasing echoes through the ruins of his youth. There's something we both carry, he and I. Not a burden, no, just the long hush of having wandered far, and at last understanding that stillness is not failure, that rest is not weakness. You know, I used to think that stopping meant the journey was over, but now I see it differently. The journey isn't something you finish, it's something you befriend, and when it finally sits down beside you, as you've done now, you offer it tea, and silence, and thanks. The path behind me is long, but it's no longer loud. Its memories don't rise like thorns, they settle like leaves. Every step has shaped me, yes, but not defined me. What defines me now is this moment, this fire, your listening. You don't need to know the names I've worn, nor the places I've passed through. It is enough to know that I have lived, that I have stumbled and risen, and that I now choose to sit quietly by the river's edge, rather than seek the storm. There's a kind of strength in surrendering to calm, in letting the stories be what they were, and no longer asking them to shout. I don't need to prove I was ever brave. I need only be kind and warm, and here. I once believed my purpose was to change the world. Now I wonder if my truer calling was to witness it gently, and to leave no harm in my wake. So here I am, beside you. Not because I am tired, but because I've walked far enough for one lifetime. Not because I am broken, but because I've chosen peace over noise. Not because I have nothing left, but because I have finally learned that what I carry matters more when it is shared in quiet moments like this one. You are welcome here, always. In the hush between stories, in the glow between embers, in the stillness of the night who has nothing to fight, only warmth to offer. Let us stay a while longer. Let the fire do the talking, and if sleep comes for you before my next words do, let it take you gently. You are safe here. You are enough. You know, my friend. I was thinking, as the fire settled into its quieter glow, that not every journey need be long, nor every tale loud to matter. Sometimes the smallest task carries the deepest meaning. Not the sort that stirs the hearts of bards or earns a crest on a banner. No, but the kind that settles in the soul, slow and deep, like rain into thirsty earth. There was a time, not so many seasons ago, when I found myself standing before the broken gate of an old, forgotten place. A castle once, though you would not know it now. The stone walls had folded inward like tired arms, ivy creeping where banners had once hung proud. No voices echoed through its halls anymore, only wind and the occasional rustle of foxes through dry grass. I did not come to claim it, nor to mourn. I came to bury something. Not a body, no, not this time, just a helm. It had belonged to a friend of mine, Sir Renward, though he never did care much for titles. He used to say that a name spoken kindly was more lasting than any oath spoken loud. He and I had shared 100 campfires and 1,000 silences between them. He wore that helm through sun and storm, through times of laughter and long stretches of ache. And when he was gone, quietly gone, with no final cry, only a last breath shared under a canopy of starlight, I carried it with me, not out of duty. I kept it wrapped in wool, tucked beneath my cloak as I rode. I cleaned it every so often, not to shine it, but to remember the shape of his head, the places the leather had worn thin, the nick just above the brow from that one too low archway in a castle long since swallowed by vines. And then, one evening, I came to that ruin, the one where we had once stayed long ago. Just one night, the roof had half collapsed, even then, and the hearth smoked terribly. But he'd laughed there, I remember that. He'd told a story that made even the wolf tilt his head with interest. It felt right, that place. So I laid the helm there in the quietest part of the ruin, where the ivy grew thickest and the moss was soft enough to serve as a kind of bed. I placed it not beneath a stone, nor in the ground, but atop a flat rock, high enough to catch the moonlight, low enough for time to settle in around it. No ceremony, just stillness, just a breath. And then I sat for a long while, watched the light change, listened to the wind push through the gaps in the wall, like it too was remembering. I think that was one of the gentlest quests I've ever taken, to carry a memory, and then to let it rest. Not to forget it, never that, but to give it somewhere to live, outside of me. Somewhere the moss could speak to it in ways I no longer could. Some say we carry our dead with us. I believe that, but I also believe we can give them places to sit, places where they no longer need to be carried, places where they can breathe freely, even if we no longer can. That was one kind of journey. But then again, not all quests require travel at all, do they? Some nights like this one, my only task is to keep the fire from going out, to sit with the flames as they shift from bright orange to sleepy amber, to listen to your breathing, soft and even, as your shoulders begin to relax and your eyes grow heavy. You may not see it as a quest, but to me it is, to keep presence, to offer stillness, to share warmth, without asking for a word in return. That's no small task in a world that so often demands movement, proof, ambition. But here, beside this fire, beneath these crumbling stones, I've chosen a different sort of duty. To be still, with you. To be a keeper of quiet. Do you feel it? The way the air settles now, like a blanket drawn up by unseen hands. The river beyond still murmurs, but more softly than before. as though it too is drawing its thoughts inward. Even the wolf has drawn closer. His flank presses against my boot, and I can feel the heat of him through the steel. He's never far, but tonight I think he knows the silence is sacred, that something is being held, something not quite said, and he dares not interrupt. These little things, they become the story, don't they? A shared silence, a helm placed gently on stone, a fire tended until dawn, each one a thread in the larger cloth, quiet but essential. So tonight, I do not ride, I do not roam, I do not chase. Tonight, my journey is to remain, to bear witness to the stillness you and I have made here, to hold the hush like one might cradle a song not yet sung. And if in this quiet you find your breath softening, your body easing, your thoughts turning slow as a drifting leaf, then I spare done well haven't die. Sometimes, the bravest thing we can do is sit beside someone we care for and let the night be what it is. No fixing, no forging, just, that is my path this evening. To keep company with the fire, to be present with you, to walk nowhere, but go deep. And if your eyes should close, if the sleep finds you before I finish my next thought, know this: you are part of the story now, not a listener only, but a fellow wayfarer on the gentlest of quests, a journey toward rest, shared in silence, under starlight, beside the softest of flames. With her remain here a while longer, once that we, you and I, and the dreams we do not yet need to speak aloud. Would you like another story, dear heart? Not a tale of battles. No, not tonight. I've no interest in clangor or conquest, and I dare say you've not come seeking such noise either. No, what I have for you are quieter things, small memories, unpolished but treasured, the sort of recollections that rest soft in the corners of the mind, like folded cloth, long kept, or a smooth stone at the bottom of a stream. You hear that? The fire is low now, and the river hums with its own quiet music. It's the perfect hour for remembering, not the heavy kind, but the gentle sort. Memories that drift like wood smoke and settle like dew. Let me share a few with you. Not for meaning necessarily, but simply for warmth. I remember once passing through a mountain pass so narrow, it seemed the world had forgotten how to widen. The wind had teeth, and my cloak snapped like a sail. And then, from somewhere above I heard it, a child's voice singing, the single note at first. Then another. The melody was simple, the kind one might hum to a sleeping lamb. I stopped my horse, stunned still by that song in the sky. Eventually, I spotted her. No more than 8 winters old, balanced on the ledge of a sloped rooftop, her cheeks red from the cold, her breath rising in silver strands. She didn't wave, she didn't stop, she just sang. And for those few moments that pass became a chapel. I rode on after a time, of course, but the tune, that's never quite left me. Sometimes it returns in dreams like wind threading through pine. Another memory, from much farther south, one of those autumns that burn gold from every leaf and turn the air to apple and firewood. I'd taken shelter in an old orchard forgotten by any map. The trees still bore fruit. Though no hand had tended them in years, they grew wild, limbs twisted and thick, as though the trees had given up on impressing anyone and simply decided to be what they were. I sat beneath one, my armor off, just boots and wool and time, and as I looked up, an apple fell. Not hard, not fast, It landed in the snow beside me with the softest thump. I picked it up. It was small, speckled, and when I bit into it, sweet, sharper than expected, full of sunlight and cold. It was the only sound in the orchard for a long while, that single bite followed by silence that felt like listening. Sometimes I think of that apple and wonder how many others fell before it, how many afterward, how many were never tasted, but still part of the world's memory. It made me feel small in a kind way, like I'd been allowed into something quietly sacred. And then there was the woman in the village of Brinlow. I'd torn my cloak during a night crossing, a bramble snag, I think, and it left a ragged scar across the lining. I stopped in Brinlow for bread and fire, and she saw me examining the tear. Without a word, she beckoned me inside her cottage, laid out a thread and needle, and began to stitch. She didn't ask my name, didn't mention the hole. Her hands moved like poetry. Small, swift, sure. As she worked, she hummed a tune I didn't recognize, though it made the walls seem warmer. When she finished, she handed the cloak back and smiled, barely visible. Pale blue, she had embroidered care into cloth. I offered coin. She shook her head. "May it hold you warm," she said, "in ways you'll never know it did." And it did, my friend. That cloak lasted many winters beyond its time, but more than that, it held the weight of her quiet kindness, a gift too soft for the world to notice, but never too small to matter. There are other small truths I've gathered, if you'd like to hear them. Did you know moss holds footprints if you walk slow enough? I learned that in a glen shaded by elms, where the forest floor rose like a green ocean, my boots sank gently into the carpet, and when I turned back to look, there they were, my steps perfectly shaped, as though someone had pressed them into velvet. I paused. I listened, and for a moment I could swear the moss itself was sighing, not in protest, no, in remembrance, as if it was glad to have been walked upon, to be seen. That's a thing I've come to believe in. You know that everything longs to be remembered, even if only for a moment, even the stars. There was a night, a long one, when the wolf, still young then, lay curled against my leg, whimpering in a dream. I watched the sky and traced the constellations I'd been taught as a boy, and then the stars shifted, not literally. No, I know well enough they stay where they are, but that night they felt different, brighter, closer, like they'd moved just enough to lean in, and at the center of them, directly above the ridge where we camped, was a cluster I'd never seen before. 5 points, arranged like a paw. I looked down at him, that wolf pup, and I swear to you, he opened his eyes at that moment, looked at me, as if he knew, as if he remembered something older than I did. We named that constellation for him. I don't know its real name, or if it has one, but every time I've passed under that sky since, I look for it. I tell him when it's there. It's strange, isn't it? The way small things, so quiet, so easily passed by, can stay with us longer than thunder ever could. You see, my friend, the world is full of these hidden stories. They don't demand to be noticed. They don't shout, but they wait. They wait for eyes that linger, for ears that listen just a heartbeat longer. Like now, like you. You've given me that gift tonight. Just by sitting here, by breathing in time with the fire, and watching the coals settle into their own hush. That's why I've told you these things, because some discoveries are only shared between hearts that understand stillness. Not all journeys are made on roads. Not all treasures are gilded. Sometimes They're no more than a note in a cold wind, a stitch in a wool cloak, an apple falling on snow, a child's song in the heights. Sometimes they sit just this, for nines of fire, a river, a friend beside you, and the stars above, stretchens they a while longer. I think the night still has one or two soft truths left to give. Still awake, dear heart. Good. Stay a little longer with me, won't you? Let the fire keep your thoughts warm, and I'll speak, not of the world out there, but of something gentler, something slower, the quiet within. Some nights when all else has hushed, the village bells stilled, the owls tucked in branches, the stars holding their breath, I find myself thinking not of deeds or destinations, but of time. Not the grand kind, not the kind measured in kingdoms or calendars, just time as it lives in a single breath, the way it passes through us like wind through grass. There was a time I chased it, you know. Thought I might outrun it or bend it or earn more of it through purpose and pain. But now I've come to see time more like a companion, not a thief, not a foe, just a quiet fellow traveler walking a few paces behind, humming a tune I can't quite remember but somehow recognize all the same. When I sit here like this, beside the coals and the river, I think about all the ways time has left its mark, not as scars, as soft weathering, like the way the stone smooths where rain touches it year after year, or how bark softens where hands have leaned against a tree again and again across the seasons. I look at these hands of mine, gloved now but known to me all the same. I remember them being sure once sifter, but they were also harsher. These days they move slower. Yes, but kinder too. I can braid a rope now with more care than I ever gave to a blade, and I find I'd rather mend than break, rather hold than strike. Funny how we change, isn't it? Not always in the ways we planned, but often in the ways we needed. I used to believe love had to be loud, that to care meant to promise things under starlight or shout devotion from high towers. But time has shown me otherwise. Now I believe love is a softer thing. It's found in tending a fire without being asked, in remembering how someone takes their tea, in leaving a space for another's sorrow without filling it up with your own noise. Sometimes love is saying nothing at all, and simply staying, you, for example, sitting here beside me, not out of duty, but choice. That is its own kind of love, and I feel it, truly I do. So I used to ask myself whether I would be remembered, whether the songs would keep my name, whether the books would bother with my tale. But now, I think it's enough to be remembered by the stones, by the moss that grew where I once sat, by the river that carried the sound of my quiet laughter, by the wolf who pressed close to my side on cold nights and shared dreams I'll never see. We often look too far ahead for our legacy, my friend, but sometimes it's all around us, soft and unwritten, etched not in ink or song, but in warmth left behind, in the hush that follows a kind word, in a fire kept alive long after we've gone to sleep. I wonder if you've ever noticed this. When you stop asking the world what it needs from you, it answers back, gently, with what it's willing to give. Silence, slowness, space. There's a comfort in knowing I am not needed in the way I once was, that the world turns whether or not I stand upon its stage, that my worth is not measured in victories, but in presence, in quiet companionship, in the way I tend this moment with care. Even this old armor, so long worn, so many times mended, has stopped being a thing of pride. It's simply what keeps the wind from my bones. I polish it not to shine, but because it matters to keep it whole. And that too is a kind of love, tending what has carried me, even when the battle is no longer. The wolf just sighed. Did you hear it? A low, warm breath, drawn from sleep. He does that sometimes when the fire shifts, as if exhaling the day's last thought. I often wonder if he dreams of me, if in his silent mind he holds memories I've forgotten, carried like bones buried in the earth, waiting for time to unearth them again. Sometimes I imagine, when I'm long gone, he'll return to this spot. Sit just here. Watch the fire pit, even if it's cold, and maybe if the stars are listening, he'll sigh again, and the stones will remember. There's something beautiful in that, don't you think? Being remembered not by monuments or minstrels, but by wind and fir and moss, by a sigh and a stone and a friend. I suppose that's what I've been trying to say, in all these quiet ways. That peace is not in being seen by all, but in being seen truly by a few, or even by just one. And tonight, that one is you. You, sitting near me, breathing in time with the coals, your eyes heavy, not from weariness, but from softness. You, letting me speak, not to fill silence, but to tend it, to hold it warm like something delicate. You are not a passerby in my story, dear friend. You are the reason it was worth telling at all. So let me say this, before the words grow too faint. You are enough, just as you are, not for what you do, not for where you go, but simply because you are here, breathing, listening, sharing this hush. There's a quiet joy in that, and it rests deep in my chest tonight, softer than sleep. Let us not reach for meaning beyond this. Let the fire crackle, the river hum, the wolf breathe, and the stars hang in their stillness. This isn't ish. Unless us remember, even the gentlest of hearts can hold a sky full of light. Thank you, my dear, dear companion. You've kept this night from drifting into silence without kindness. You have made space for my remembering. And I hope in turn this stillness wraps itself around you like a cloak you didn't know you needed. Sleep if you wish. Drift if you must. I will keep watch a while longer. There is no rush in peace, and peace. Now, peace is all we need. There it is. The fire's quiet now, down to soft coals and a dim orange glow. Do you see how the last flames flicker low, as though they too are growing tired? That's how you know the night is reaching its stillest hour. Nothing left to burn, nothing left to chase. And still you see us here. I stim glad. There's something gentle in endings like this. Not abrupt, not heavy, just a slow drawing down. Like a leaf finally coming to rest on still water, or a bell that stopped ringing, but leaves its tone lingering in the air a little while longer. Even the river seems to hush itself, don't you think? Its voice softer now, as if it too understands the need for stillness. I find myself breathing slower beside you, not from effort or thought, just naturally, gently. My breath matches the rhythm of yours, and together we sit in the long hush that comes only when nothing is required. There is no task now, no story to tell, only presence. The wolf has curled closer, his side pressed against my boot. His warmth seeps up through the leather, steady and grounding. His ears twitch now and then, but his breathing is deep, dreaming I'd wager, though of what? I couldn't say, likely something simpler than our thoughts. A field, a wind, the feeling of running with no destination. I envy him that ease, sometimes. But tonight I feel close to it. Even my armor is quiet now. It creaks only slightly as I shift to settle more comfortably against the stone. It's grown cool to the touch, save for the places warmed by fire and rest. I no longer feel its weight like a burden, only like something familiar, like an old friend leaning beside me. You too have grown quiet. Let's feel it more than I hear it. The way your shoulders have loosened, the way your breathing deepens. You're still awake, perhaps, or maybe drifting just at the edge of sleep. Either is welcome here. Both are good. There's no need to speak anymore, no need to fill the air with sound. But let me share this with you, before the fire dims completely. I am glad for your company, not in the way of necessity. No, I have sat by many fires alone and made peace with solitude. But tonight, your presence adds a warmth even the flames could not. You've listened, not just with ears, but with your spirit. You've rested beside me, not as a guest, not as a stranger, but as a companion in quiet. There sets a rare grace in that, and I hope you feel it too. The night wraps itself around us like a woolen cloak. Not too heavy, not too tight. Just enough to hold. You can almost hear it settle like the forest drawing breath inward, like a blanket pulled up beneath the chin. I can feel my eyes growing heavier too. The lids tug gently downward, as if the stars themselves are pulling them closed, whispering, "It's all right now. You've done enough for today. You've done enough, dear friend." Even if your day was filled with little things, tidying, tending, waiting, wondering, they were enough. Your heart beat its quiet rhythm through all of it, and now it deserves rest. Not reward, not explanation, just rest. It is enough to be here together, beside the dying fire and the steady wolf and the moss-covered stone. We don't need to rise with answers. We don't need to wake with plans. Let the morning take care of itself. It always does. For now, we breathe. Full lesson. We ease into stillness. The embers pulse like sleeping stars in a cradle of ash. They glow without urgency, content to fade when it is time. I'll watch them a little longer, until the last one sinks into dark. But if you fall asleep before then, don't worry. I'll still be here. And if I fall asleep first, well, I think you'll understand. We've walked a quiet journey tonight, you and I, through memory and moss, through firelight and folded thoughts. And now we've come to that softest of places where nothing more is needed and nothing more will be asked. Let that be your shelter tonight. No questions, no stories, just peace. You are not alone. You are not unfinished. You are simply here. And here is enough. The wind has stilled. The stars have grown still. Even the old stone behind my back feels as though it's joined us in slumber. Everything that remains is softness. So close your eyes when you stir ready. I'll just us no rush. Sleep, if it comes, will be gentle. And when the morning finds you, let it do so kindly. But for now, stay here with me, just a little longer. Let this silence hold you. Let this stillness be your rest. Let this night be your peace. We've earned it, haven't we? Just breathe now. The fire is almost out, and all is well.